Yeah, I'm not a Filipino, so I'll go through and cover this for you. Since I'm a white guy, white American, a heterosexual white American, I'll have this nice conversation with you. I'm watching the beginning of Red Dawn, the newer movie. Obviously, the older one is nonsensical. This movie has no grounds in reality. It is so far outside of reality that it's literally impossible. In this movie, they show, I'd say, about 500 large four engine turboprop aircraft. I don't know the exact specification of the aircraft. I didn't look it up. It's probably some North Korean variant of a Chinese variant of some Russian lazy bear type thing going on. And so just to take off 500 of these aircraft, I doubt North Korea even has the fuel capacity to fuel up 500 of these aircraft and then have them take off and loiter so they can all take off. Because that's what you're asking here. For them to fly 7,000 something miles over the ocean to drop airborne troops, and then what? They don't have the fuel capacity, they don't have the refining capacity to fuel these aircraft up. They don't even have the ability to keep this many aircraft operational. Like, that's a lot of airborne troops. That's more than one division. Okay? It's more than one division of infantry that they're dropping. It's like a division and a half almost. It's a lot of airborne troops. Assuming this is realistic, assuming that these are fully loaded aircraft and all this stuff, it's a lot of aircraft, it's a lot of air power to fly from North Korea. Actually, I misspoke. I didn't mean a division, I meant a brigade. A brigade combat team. It's more than a brigade combat team. To fly from North Korea, Pyongyang, which is probably where they'd be flying out of, all the way to, I think this is Washington State, wherever it's at in the Northwest. Never mind the fact that the only country on the planet that has a reliable aerial refueling program and a reliable aerial refueling system is the United States. We're the only ones. We're the only country that ever got it down to working properly. The Soviets never got it working. The Russians had nothing to do with it. They don't have one. They have no aerial refueling. We're the only ones that have it. So China doesn't have it. North Korea doesn't have it. The Russians don't have it. We are the only ones that have aerial refueling at any kind of level to where it would need to be to even run 500 of those aircraft out 7,000 miles. And it would still be a one-way trip because they would need aerial refueling on station once they arrived there. So it's not even doable. So just looking at the logistics portion of Red Dawn, it's logistically impossible. Great movie, very entertaining. It's logistically impossible to do it. Both versions, both the original Red Dawn and the modern one. It's impossible. How would a communist invasion and takeover look in the United States? Because logistically, it's impossible for them to do so. However, it is not impossible for the communists to invade the United States and seize it. They would likely do it with demographic change and electoral processes. This means that they would sneak in children until they had enough babies that were American citizens and force them to vote along party lines within line of their nation of origin. Heavily socialist policy, disarming Americans, censorship, stuff like this. Because these are the stalwarts of Marxism: censorship, anti-free speech, anti-firearms, anti-weaponry, anti-Second Amendment, violating the rest of the Bill of Rights. They'd want a FISA warrant system. Definitely would want a FISA warrant system. They would definitely want to have the powers the Stasi had. in Eastern Germany, which basically means the ability to spy on anyone they want without revocation, without consequences. They'd want the ability to basically do everything the Stasi were doing in East Germany, which, involved extortion, racketeering, human trafficking, basic slavery, blackmailing, observational stuff, basically everything the Stasi did, which was terrible because the East Germany collapsed because literally the Stasi, they tore the country apart. The Stasi were the worst creation in Western history. It's absolutely abysmal that we would ever live in a society that had something like the Stasi. And you get those apologists, the Marxist apologists, communist apologists always that go and say, well, the East Germans aren't the cucks that the West Germans are. Modern day, you always hear that. It's always a boomer. A boomer that was a communist back in the day and he still thinks he's a hardliner while never having done anything in the real world. The entirety of his economic base is based on, banker inflationary monetary improvement, QE, and highly leveraged asset valuations. And that's the extent of that particular person's knowledge of the real world, is to just inflate away everybody else's life and pretend like your value is valuable because, you just listened to the bankers and the communists when they said they were going to take down the government and the economy. And they did it through housing. So we can look at it that way, that, the housing market is absolutely destroyed because of Marxists in the government and the banking industry wanted to hide a whole bunch of illegal money so they could leverage up and without having to pay taxation, take out a bunch of loans on this stuff so they could use it to leverage up stuff that they actually wanted or to purchase what they wanted and to buy votes and all this other stuff. We see it, like FTX is a prime example. People of communist bent wanting certain things done, and they would use anything that they could get. Like they use force, they use threats. We've seen it time and time again. The guy from Silk Road, he went around, threatening to kill people and stuff. Got involved with a corrupt DEA guy, and they actually, I don't know if that's real or not. I saw the movie like a few months ago. I don't know if they actually killed anybody, but that's like just the paradigm of Marxism right there. Is that anything to get wealthy despite the value of what I'm offering. And that's like the crust of Marxism. Anything to get wealthy. Literally anything. You'll overthrow a country, cause civil unrest, murder anybody just to get wealthy so you don't have to work. And that's by any means. That's their philosophy. They will do anything to not have to work, including murdering people. That's Marxism. Like when you boil Marxism down to a real world application scenario where it's actually applied in the real world, it always boils down to the same exact thing. They will murder anybody to avoid actually doing any real work. And it's a travesty. It's not necessarily just of the commons. It hits the non-commons as well. It hits the nobles as well, because the Marxists targeted the nobles, the noble families. My family was targeted. I know many other houses of nobility were actively targeted by Marxist communists because that's all they know how to do is steal. They will do anything they can to pretend like they have the authority, even pretending to be, some kind of super ubermensch or some other nonsense where they display themselves as being the superior man because they're willing to steal. They're willing to murder. They have no sense of decorum. They have no standard of approval. They have no prive. They have basically no sense of morality. And any idea that they have any sense of morality, once you can argue your way from being guilty because of some kind of class struggleism, any sense of morality and rationale that you have just evaporates. There's no arguing with you at that point because you just exposed the very real sense of what you're willing to do. And what you're willing to do is murder everybody. You'll you're one of those people, if you support that kind of stuff, you're one of those people that would sit on a throne of skeletons and declare yourself king in the kingdom of the dead. And we see it throughout their artwork. It's very prevalent in their artwork. George A. Romero, I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's a very prominent Marxist. He's a great artist, okay? He's a great filmographer. And I enjoy his artwork. I think he's very good with art. Like, his artistic ability is really up there. His politics are absolutely shit, though. He is a Marxist. He's an avowed Marxist, and no disrespect to him as an artist, but his art is a reflection of his politics. And unfortunately, while I appreciate his artwork and I appreciate his talents as an artist, I don't think his politics are anything that should be followed because The Walking Dead, if you've ever seen any of the episodes, is not what I would like as reality. Despite my frustrations with some other people who believe that violence is the only solution and that theft is a valid means of discovery or innovation, if you just steal your way into being the most innovative, I guess you're still the most innovative, even though you stole everything. On some kind of level, that's a rationale that actually exists. But I've had that perspective for a long time that thieves should have their hands removed. I think that's one thing that Muhammad got right. It wasn't even Muhammad; it predates Muhammad. We're speaking about the Saracens used to do that. So did some of the Greek states. They used to remove fingers and hands. And the early Japanese, they used to remove toes. And I don't know about you, but, if you see some guy hobble along missing toes, he's like stands out in the crowd. He can't really run away and get away because he stands out in the crowd no matter what, because he's missing toes. And you can't walk normal when you're missing toes. You hobble, even if it's a mild hobble. And I think our humanity got in the way with our pretense of letting people avoid pain for their consequences because somebody expressed that all humans suffer and suffering is life. So therefore, we all have to suffer at the hands of people who are suffering because their suffering is caused by their addiction to free stuff through theft. So I don't get it. We used to decapitate people for stealing horses. We used to hang people who stole horses and cattle. And now we let them run around and murder people until we get tired of them running around murdering people and raping people. And then we finally put them in jail for a limited amount of time. And then we let them out after a while. And that's where we're at as a society. We're at let the criminals run society and pray for the best. Your prayers aren't working. Society's falling apart. The whole country's collapsing. Communism doesn't work. These people need to be told that directly. They need to be told to their face that their stuff doesn't work. Communism doesn't work. It's not legal in the United States because it violates the Constitution. And before anybody gets off on a high horse on this stuff, the Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments. It is not an ancillary to the Constitution. The Constitution was not ratified without the Bill of Rights. When the Constitution was actually passed in 1791, the Bill of Rights was a part of it. It wasn't signed until after the Bill of Rights were added. It was first presented in 1789 without the Bill of Rights. And then they went back to the drawing board and said, we need to add some amendments to practice the adding of amendments thing. And then they added the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights are not optional. They are not optional. If you don't support the Bill of Rights, the rest of the Constitution is meaningless. Do you understand? That means your pay, your office as a senator, your office as a representative, the judge's office, everything is null and void. You either practice the whole law or you don't practice any at all. Like this is not a conversation about what you can and can't get away with. This is an absolutist thing. And the fact that Donald decided to back the FISA guys just screams at his betrayal. Again, that's twice he betrayed the United States of America. This guy is seditious. This is sedition. Anybody who voted for FISA is seditious. This is anti-American. This is against the Constitution. The sedition isn't against orders. It's lawful orders and betraying the Constitution. The whole oath says, defend and protect the United States Constitution and obey all orders. It has nothing to do with just orders. It's the Constitution and the orders. If you had actually read the oath, which is a legal binding contract when you raise your hand, because you also sign a document saying that you agree to follow these laws. And anything in disagreement of these laws says that you can be imprisoned in a military prison. Even as a senator, you're not above the law. Leavenworth is for all seditionists, all treasonous. It is legally viable to march a senator away in shackles and put him away in Leavenworth. It's completely legal. That is the law. You're not above the law. The only person that you have no arrest authority on is the president, because he has to be impeached. So we're at this conversation where we have open and avowed Marxists running FISA warrants in the United States of America, being very friendly with China. Very fucking friendly with China. It's like, it's not even a conversation about how friendly our current admin is with our nearest military peer, who is also militarily opposed to us everywhere that their region and their military exists. We are militarily opposed to China, but our admin is pretending like they're friends and buddies with them. I don't know what to tell you, but a FISA warrant means people involved with the Chinese government, people involved with the Israeli government, people involved with the Indian government, all have access to everything. They all have access to all the communications going on within the United States. If you're running a business and you're trying to compete with a Chinese manufacturer or an Indian manufacturer, there's no way for you to do so because they know everything you're doing. They can gather information. It's a blanket statement. They can gather any kind of internal documentation. We are basically being milked for information, and there's nothing anybody can do. It's not even that. If the Indians and the Chinese have it, the Canadians have it. If the Indians and the Chinese have it, the Mexicans have it. Guaranteed they're selling it to Canada and Mexico. That means even the Mexican cartels have direct access to everything we're saying to each other in our family chats, our private conversations on WhatsApp and everything else. Everything. They know everything. They can gain access to literally everything, and there's nothing anybody can do because the goddamn president just passed FISA again. He just pushed it through. This guy is not a friend to you. Like, oh yeah, MAGA, oh yeah,